Hello and welcome to the Berkcast, the How to Train Your Dragon podcast. I'm your host, HC, and with me are.
Rush 2112.
And Wolf.
And today, after a year and a half in quick calculation, um, after a year and a half since the last graphic novel and also the first graphic novel, we are finally blessed question mark with its sequel, How to Train Your Dragon Dragonvine, written by Din Dabla and Richard Hamilton. The second in supposedly a trilogy is finally out, and like with its prequel, we are going to talk about it for the next maybe an hour, maybe more, maybe less. We'll have to wait and see. So, How to Train a Dragon, Dragonvine, guys. What did we think about this graphic novel? And actually, if anyone listening is new to the Bearcast, first of all, welcome. It's great to have you here. Second of all, the way these reviews work is that we are doing a quick, non-spoilery review about the graphic novel. And once we're about to start talking spoilers, we'll let you know so that you could close the episode, go ahead, read it, and then come back and listen to us talk about all the little plot details and major plot details and just the book in general. So, with that said, who wants to go first? What did you think about Dragonvine?
It's not the Serpent's Edge.
Would you like to elaborate?
I think I enjoyed the Serpent's Air more. Personally.
Rash, what about you?
Well, I was going to say the same thing. Thanks for coming to the Berkcast and our stellar reviews.
Okay, okay. So
I,
first of,
I know, I was
go
just
ahead.
kidding. No, so I enjoyed it, but I am with Wolf. I prefer the Serpent's Heir to Dragonvine. And again, not spoilery, it just seems like the plot of the Serpent's Heir was a little bit more focused, as well as a little bit better. And you know what? We can get on this later, and this is no pun intended, but it was better drawn out. It wasn't. This one seemed like it was a little quick, and just going around everything.
I will say this, right? Like, the Serpent's Air didn't introduce anything in the middle of the story that came out of nowhere, it felt like. In Dragonvine, and we'll get to exactly what I'm talking about when we get into spoilers, but I will say Dragonvine introduces a few different things out of nowhere that, if I'm honest, I would rather know more about than the story that they did give me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so first of all, I'll agree that I enjoyed Serpent's Air a lot more. Now, regarding Dragonvine, this is probably the most mixed, maybe even going into a bit of a negative I've been about How to Train a Dragon ever. Like a lot of stuff, there's so much going on here that there are a lot of stuff going on here that could have each thing could have made its own story. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, and you guys pretty much talked about how, and also Rush kind of mentioned that the Serpent's Air was a more focused story. When you really get down to it, what was the point of Dragonvine? Like, Serpent's Air kind of had a point, which is Hiccup getting adjusted to being chief and realizing that he's going to be a different chief than Stoic and everything. What was, and we'll probably get to this more in the spoiler section, but what was Hiccup's arc? What was anything's arc really in this one?
You know what?
What?
Since you bring that up, if I'm being honest, it almost feels like, and this is technically not a spoiler since it's been out for so long. Burning Midnight was released last year, or maybe even
Yeah,
last year early.
we'll talk about it.
But I was gonna say that it just seems like they made that, and then they decided, hey, let's make that a full out comic, and they just like, wait a second, how do we make this a full comic? And they kind of didn't really have. They had a whole bunch of ideas that just threw all together. Like, oh, that's good. Let's use that. Oh, that's good too. Let's use that. It's like you took three random dudes and made a podcast.
Well,
Strange, that one. Who would ever
yeah,
do such a terrible thing?
that will never last. But
It's unprofessional
Mm,
but amusing.
debatable. Debatable.
yeah. And one thing I do want to say, none of you brought this up. Can we talk about the artwork for a second? Can we talk about the freaking artwork for a second?
Well,
I
I don't
I'm
know if it was you who pointed it out, but they did switch artists.
Yeah, if you look at the opening,
Even
like
before.
as soon as you open the graphic, see like like How to Train Dragon Dragonvine, you'll see script by Dinda Blanc and Richard Hamilton. You'll see art pages 7 to 16 by Doug Wetley, and then you see art pages 17 to 86 by Francisco de la Fonete. I hope I pronounced those names correctly.
Fuente.
It's Wheatley and Fuente. Francisco de la Fuente. I assume, unless I'm wrong. In which case, I am wrong.
You're
Okay.
right.
Don't listen to me.
Now, here's something I do want to point out because I did have this talk with a friend on the day this came out. Like, as soon as I finished reading this, I hung out with a few friends, and one of them brought up the idea that he tells me, artists changing midway through a comic is not something. It's not something that's really unheard of or
No.
anything. And he brought up like comic book collections. Whenever DC or Marvel are gathering a few of their issues into like one big collection that collects an entire story arc. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I said on the one hand, yes, but you also need to keep in mind that in something like, let's take the Civil War comic book story, you need to understand that this comic has been stretched through, like one part of it is in a Spider-Man comic, the other is in an Iron Man comic, and each one of these series had a different artist working on it at the time. So in that sense, I can kind of get it. But with this, when you have a supposed trilogy, and the guy who did the artwork for the start of this comic I think also did the artwork for Serpent's Air, then all of a sudden switching in the middle is not switch in the middle. And you know what? Switch it in the middle, I don't mind. Maybe the guy was fired, maybe something else happened, I don't know. But the style change is so glaring. Like as soon as you turn the page, like when you turn to page 16 to 17, you can see the change. Like it's actually, it's not even subtle. Like they're not even trying to hide it. You know what I mean?
Well, it's not 16 to 17. 16 to 17 is still done by him. You mean 17 to 18?
Yeah. So technically,
it says on the credit line, pages 17.
but it's a two-page spread.
Okay.
So yeah, he definitely did that page 17 as well.
Actually, no. You're not. No, he didn't have to. Because the pages that Doug Wheatley did was Burning Midnight, and then it's not a two-page spread. It's actually, I remember that the last page he drew was the end of Burning Midnight. We didn't get that extra part at the end, so that is the start of Francisco. So yeah, he did, and technically that one you don't get much of a chance to see what's different, but then yes, with it actually it's not that noticeable until they basically leave that area.
I noticed right away. Like
I can see the difference between with Volka's face.
That's true.
With fish legs and it's a little bit less tellable. With
actually,
Gopher, it's a little bit less
if
tellable.
I may just say something, poor Astrid.
Yeah, no, their faces.
I'll say this, right? I'm not an artist, so I guess take this with a grain of salt. But Doug Wheatley, whatever his style of choice, it definitely he matches How to Train Your Dragon more, right?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like How to Train Your Dragon with its animation style and its art style, it definitely tends to have. I'm probably gonna say everything terribly wrong and get everything wrong here. So artists, please forgive me and don't hurt me too much. But How to Train Your Dragon feels to me like it's more curvy, it's more angled, like rounded angles, I guess you would say, especially with Astrid's face.
Yeah, I think what you're trying to say is that Doug's artwork looks a bit more three-dimensional than the rest of the book.
I think I
Sure.
think that's what you're hitting at, because if I'm being honest, like Serpent's Heir and then Burning Midnight look like How to Train Your Dragon, but the rest of it, Francisco draws it like how I would expect another just comic book to be.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too. Like his style is very, like he's done comics books before. Like this is his style. He's drawn comic books before. That is his style, very comic book style.
And
Whereas
just to
Doug is
clarify,
trying to
just
imitate the movies more.
yeah, and just to clarify, I'm not saying this to to shade on Francisco's art style. I'm not saying his art style is bad. I'm not saying he's a bad artist. I'm just saying it was very noticeable, and some facial expressions throughout the thing kind of made me raise an eyebrow. And
Here's
but
the thing.
it's nothing against his style specifically. Like if you like that style, I can see why. It's just it was really glaring change to me.
Here's the thing, right? Like I think his art style works. If you look like, this book does tend to focus on Eric a little bit more, I would say, than
Yes.
any other character. And the way he draws Eric, like I look at it and I don't see anything that feels off to me with Eric's face. Not
Except for
majorly,
that one
anyways.
time when he has the gigantic chin.
That one maybe, but even then, it still feels.
Well, to be
It
honest,
doesn't
his
feel
chin
super
is a bit bigger than all of them, I think.
And again, I think that comes from the fact that in comic book, it's everything is a little bit more blocky. It's a little bit more softer, I guess you'd say, more square and less rounded. And that works for Eric since even in the movies, he's more square faced than rounded face, like some of the other characters, right? So, and I think that's why they used Eric so much, because he's, Francisco isn't as good at drawing those softer and more angled faces like Astrid's or Velka's, for instance.
That kind of brings up, so back on that 3D point, the artwork, as I'm looking through it again, it seems flatter. Like the shading is a little bit, like for that three-dimensional point, the shading is that's exactly why I think I believe that, or I brought up the point that it looks more like a comic book, because usually it has that just shading style. You don't have that three-dimensional shading that we get from, say, the Burning Midnight style or the Serpent's Heir. We get more of the flatter two-dimensional graphic or comic book style drawing. So just another point on that.
Okay, so are we done with the? So overall, let's just sum up non-spoil. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I also don't, like I won't necessarily like if you think you can't afford the graphic novels to yourself, I see no harm in skipping this one. But if you want to go for it, you only live once. But at the same time, if you think, nah, it's not comics are not my thing or something like that, you want to miss it out by skipping this.
Rush.
Yeah, what's up?
Did HC just YOLO us over a comic book?
I hope not, because I was trying to find a certain thing to bring up also, so I wasn't paying attention.
I feel like we should fire him.
What did I say exactly that deserves me being fired?
YOLO. You just YOLO'd us over a comic book, I'm fairly sure.
What's the problem with that? Why did we make this rule? I don't remember.
I made this rule.
You
Very
are
secret rule, but it's a rule.
Removed.
It'll take him a second to figure that one out. You might want to move him back.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Oh, he doesn't have it on the same. Okay, for the listeners, before we move him back, we're in a Discord.
And of course.
Oh, there it is. I moved him. I moved him.
Something became way too quiet. I noticed.
We had a great time without you, though.
Anyway, thank you for joining the Berkcast. We finished the whole podcast.
No,
by the way.
No. So before Rush kicked me out, the bastard, I'll just say whatever I said a few minutes and 1 minute ago. Take that one part out. That's my general thoughts. What do you guys have to say?
I'm kind of on the same boat, I suppose. I don't know if I would inherently recommend it. I don't know if I'd really recommend the Serpent's Hair either. If you find them in a used bookstore for like a few whatever currency you might use, then you have the extra current and you have that extra currency to spend on it. Go ahead, pick it up. It's more How to Train Your Dragon. If you already love and enjoy How to Train Your Dragon, you're not going to go wrong. You'll have something that's fun, and potentially if you love to write for How to Train Your Dragon fan fiction, you'll have something that gives you a few extra ideas maybe. But
Something
I
I
mean,
will.
Wolf, I don't know how much why like that currency thing is kind of bunk anyway because I got it for $8. Like that's pretty.
I got
cheap.
it for 10.
Ooh,
6.
sucker. Oh, never mind. I'm the sucker. It's
No,
either way, it's
both
still
suckers.
pretty cheap. So I mean, honestly, how about this? If you find it in a comic book store, you could probably read it all before you even get like yelled at.
This is true.
That's another thing. Like I said, it was such like if you remember earlier, I said it's a quick story that's really unfocused, so you could easily breeze through it in 10 minutes, like I did.
I said this just a second ago, right? Like earlier in this very episode, I said there's some ideas here in this book that I like more than the actual story itself, personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what kind of sucks about it, because it's not the greatest of things, but there's some interesting ideas in here that I really did find enjoyable and would want to know more about.
I will say when we get more into spoilers, there are ideas I like in it, and there are even some dialogue moments that I like. But maybe as separate things. But when you try and connect all these things together, the problem starts.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, shall we move on to the spoilers part?
Sure, I'm good.
Okay, so from this point forward, spoilers do not proceed if you have any plans to read Dragonvine.
Do not collect $200.
Mm-hmm. So, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. You still here? Great. Let's start. So, the first thing I'll say that really confused me is that we start off with Burn Midnight, which was a short free comic book thing they released a few, like, when was it? That was 2016 or?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, so 2 years ago. And one, I do find this a bit confusing that, they want to tease this new series of comic books coming, and they start with teasing something from the second novel and not the first one. That's a bit odd. But also, this comic clearly starts with the writers and Toothless being trapped in a cave, which apparently Toothless made. Toothless pretty much got them stuck in this situation with his plasma blast, and it's like, okay, few questions. 1, why are we here? 2, how did we get here? 3, why instead of doing something like, okay, there's somewhat of an explanation to that, like they're waiting for the dragons they encountered to leave before they make an escape, but again, stuff just feel like they happened, like, and without any reason as to why we're there. Why are we there? I don't know.
To be fair, it's not that's not too bad of an issue, right? Like, because in terms of that, you can just say, well, they were out exploring, and that's that, and that's how this all started, right? Like, I think it's easy enough to say that's the issue with that. Like, they were just out exploring, and that's how things started. That one I can get around somewhat. I can suspend my disbelief somewhat and just say use that as my excuse as to why I don't know how they got to where they got and why they're there. So I don't really need to know that part as much. There's other issues going forward, though, that feel way more out of nowhere than what this does.
So we probably talked about Burning Midnight long ago on this show. So if you want to hear our thoughts about that, go ahead and look for something. I think it was when Rush and I did the predictions for Serpent Cells. So Go ahead and look for that if you're interested. So Burning Midnight, you've heard our thoughts, you know what we think. So they escape the cave and they come across these. Actually, one of the things I like about
HC,
this.
can I
Hmm,
quickly interject? I was gonna say
yeah,
that on your very first point, like how he got this, why is it the second? Not why is Burning Midnight like the beginning of the second novel? I want to bring up my point again that this probably was never Burning Midnight was never meant to be a comic. Actually, it was they were just teasing that, and then they realized, hey, we could use this because it was more of a teasing the art style and their storytelling style,
because
and then they
you
just
know I would agree with you on that, but um, if someone in the comments or one of you guys want to correct me on this, correct me. But I think when Midnight was released as part of Free Comic Book Day, Richard Hamilton himself said that Burning Midnight was supposed to bridge Serpentine and Dragonvine. That was the first time we heard the title of the second book.
okay,
So.
fair enough.
I could be wrong, but I seem to recall something like this. I'll have to look it up afterwards.
Just as a joking thought, maybe he said they were meant to bridge, and the writers were like, no, we didn't want you to do that. So then they had to make up a story to bridge, quote unquote. And then they're like,
Yeah.
here we go, and so Dragonvine was born.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things I liked about this book is the new dragon we see. I don't remember the name right now because I suck at names, as you know. But a spider dragon.
The silk spanners.
The silk spanners, okay. And you know, we haven't seen a spider dragon yet, so that's interesting. That's a cool idea, you know, a dragon that shoots webs. And I hope I'm not saying this because I'm in the middle of my Spider-Man hype, but but the one thing I did find interesting, and it's never really elaborated on, is that Gabber does ask Hiccup, as soon as this starts, he asks Hiccup, why aren't the six panels being respectable to Toothless because he's the alpha? And Hiccup says something about them being in a frenzy or something. So it's like, isn't that a bit of a weird thing that allows you to defy the alpha? I don't know. It seems like we need an explanation. There you go. Let's go with it.
I think that works, though. I think that makes a lot of sense because it's the same with, people as well. You'll even see it in pack animals in real life too, right? Where
Riot.
yeah, I mean,
Peas and carrots.
it's
Peas and carrots.
It's
So,
not unexpected that when people get scared or in upset and stuff like that, if there's someone around to lead them, they're not exactly going to follow that person if they're all upset and scared and all of that.
yeah, but at the same time, you could argue that Toothless was upset when he realized that Bewilderbeast used him to kill Stuik, and so why was the Bewilderbeast able to control him for a second and let Drago ride him?
Again, that was mind control based on sound, much different than just listening to Toothless. Alpha doesn't mean he has mind control powers, HC. It just means other dragons are willing to listen to him.
Okay, fair point. But at the same time, is it like, you know what? So let's go back to Serpent Cell for a second. Forever Wings. They slept for like how long? Years, probably. And you mean to tell me that after all this time they weren't frenzied? Hell, they attacked Hiccup and Toothless when they saw them. They knocked them out of the air.
There was only 5 of them.
Only 5, yeah, true. Only 5 giant dragons. And they still listen to Toothless. That's less frenzy and more just,
disoriented.
They're not mourning people.
Oh, for the love of God!
It was technically night at that point. Wolf.
True. They're not night dragons. They're more mourning people.
Early Furies.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to tell me if you by someone claiming to be your king, you will be pretty frenzied. I don't know about you, but I will be pretty pissed. But I will do what he says because, king, maybe he could kill me. But again, dragon rules, maybe I'm just overthinking this.
I mean, HC, you're like... there's a lot of things that they could introduce that they could just say, haha, dragons. I mean, they introduced shot limit in the TV show, which they did bring up later in Dragonvine, and like
Yeah.
people had the same reaction. It's just something that they
Well,
that
they
they
introduced
create.
shot limit in the movies.
No, yes, they did, and I'm stupid for saying that. They gave Toothless a shot limit in the TV series. Anyway, but it was just like, hey, this is a convenient reason why Hiccup isn't killed by the Grunkle. Actually, convenient reason why he isn't killed by the Grunkle is because it has the it has the ability to not shoot immediately when it wants to, when the movie demands it. But it's just another thing where it's like, hey, we need a reason for why this is happening, and so here we're gonna give it this, and this is actually a believable reason. They're in a frenzy.
Yeah, but at the same time, if kind of quote myself from a video I made not long ago, saying because plot is a lazy explanation, don't you think?
But this is a believable. A lot of things are because plot, if you think about it. But
but when this is the main, like when I ask why aren't they, why why aren't the dragons toothless, and they're frenzied, and it's like, okay, sure, at this point, like, yeah, sure, as it's an explanation, but at the same time you can just like one more, like, maybe it's just me, but again, I think one more day of thinking this through might have given us something better. Again,
what would you have done? What would sound better to you?
I need a day to think about it. I'll come back to you. But
post it on the Tumblr, and you'll see if HC finds a better way then, because that's believable. I will argue against you if it's not believable, but frenzied is pretty believable to me.
Okay, I'll think of something maybe, and I'll come back to you on that.
I think HC believes Toothless should have mind control powers, and that's why he has a problem with this.
No. What I do believe is that the silk spanners
powers.
But I do that if Toothless did have mind control powers, the silk spanners will most likely be interested by seeing how this works, and they will plan to get mind control.
Yeah.
You know, HC, you know why they didn't actually listen to Toothless? They're deaf. They can't recognize his alpha roar if they're deaf.
Yeah, but so it will be. But here's the thing: we looked for that explanation. We thought about something. So anyway,
so the dragons are deaf. The worst explanation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, but again,
moving on.
It's a fan explanation. It's a headcanon. It's nothing. Whatever. You know what I mean. Let's move on. So they free the rest of the dragons who apparently were caught. Again, leading up to the question I asked from before: how do we get into this situation? But okay, they fight again. Pretty decent fights in, and then comes one of the things I like the most, and one of the things I didn't get the most in this. So one of the things is that Hiccup used like his shield from the show as a crossbow, and he shoots Inferno on that shield. That is freaking badass, and I love it. And I'm surprised they didn't do this earlier. Who's with me?
Yeah, it was a nice return to see. Nothing wrong with that. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Rush agrees.
No, I agree. I mean, it's just like it's not like, as much as we were saying this is just a average or below average How to Train a Dragon franchise thing, it still had good moments.
Yeah, it has, and something I do also like how Hiccup does use the Nightmare Gel in order to make the other's weapons flammable, and use with Eret's boomerang and stuff. I like that. That's a cool thing. But now
boomerang seems like a bad idea, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying.
Somebody hasn't played Tiger.
That was great.
Again, we're not talking about game logic. We're talking about,
this is real
How to
life.
Train Your Dragon doesn't rely on game logic. It tends to keep things fairly rational most of the time. And Flaming Boomerang doesn't seem like a great idea when you need to catch the thing on return. Yeah, that's why they give it the name Return Wing. And we should have mentioned, by the way, that Hiccup apparently invented this boomerang. Because it's called Return Wing, not Boomerang. So, yeah, someone had to make it. Pretty sure it was probably Hiccup.
Okay. But now moving, don't really like, and from what I've seen on Tumblr in the last few days, I think some people are going to be angry with me, but I don't like Hiccup's design when he's without the armor and he has this jacket. I don't know. Is it just me, or does it look like all these fan fictions where like someone from the modern world gets transported into the movies universe and they're like looking at him, it's like, what is he wearing? So that's what I got from this. I don't know. It looks like Hiccup with modern attire, and
Indiana Jones.
And I mean, if this was the point, good on them. But we're not in modern times. We are in
Indiana Jones, Luke Skywalker. It definitely gives off that kind of vibe.
They both lost a limb.
I thought Frodo in a lot of artwork in this. I got Frodo from this.
Says the guy who just said it feels like modern times.
Again, I don't know. Some artworks look like Frodo to me, and some artworks just look. Why is he? Were jackets a thing back then? Is there someone who can confirm this?
Probably not, but I mean, boomerangs weren't a thing back then either, and many of the other things Hiccup has invented weren't things back then either, so I take that back. Boomerangs might have been a thing. I don't know. I'm not a historian. Don't quote me.
Boomerangs are
They definitely weren't
old,
a thing for Vikings anyways. Pretty sure Vikings didn't use boomerangs.
I just want to know, like for me, it was the fact that he took off the armor was so quick that I had to go back. Like when I first read it, I'm like, wait, when did he take off his armor?
Yeah, I don't really. I assume he took it off because it was damaged, but it was very quick that he's like, all right, well, no more this anymore.
I think it was, if I'm being honest, I think it was hard that the guy didn't want to draw it. So he...
That could be the case.
And, something that's also a thing. How much shit has this armor been through in How to Train a Dragon 2 when you really think about it? Like all the flying, all the falling, like maybe even a few hits, everything. And like what gets it so damaged that Hiccup needs to get rid of it? At the end of the day, a spider net. That's...
And like it doesn't even the jacket comes out of nowhere because it makes you think that it's it's under his armor, but under his armor is technically a long sleeve green shirt.
Again, so it's not only seem, to me at least, it doesn't seem like belong to the timeline this takes place in. It just, where did this come from?
A pocket dimension.
No idea.
Wait, sorry, pockets
like
didn't exist.
He went in, like he had just in his pocket. Okay, sure, why not? If the slick spanners can be deaf, why not? Let's explain this entire thing. So, anything else about the fight scene?
Not really. The dragon's cool. There's a few little, nice little moments. The boomerang's interesting, and it's nice to give Eric something specific to him weapon-wise, I suppose. Though I doubt that's something you'll see in How to Train Your Dragon 3. Then again, maybe you will, since Dean apparently has more of an input on this. Maybe, possibly, don't know. So actually, you might see something.
Actually, here's another thing. After Hiccup gets the arrow out, the Dragon Hunter's arrow out of the stick spanners, like he tells Fishlangs like, can the Dragon Cry tell you anything about our web speeding fence? What is the Dragon Cry? What?
That was after the fight. I figured you'd get to that, after we've summed up the fight.
Oh, okay. You said like there's nothing else to say about the fight, so I jumped ahead.
I didn't know Rush had anything to say.
Nope, got nothing.
Okay, then now go ahead and go to the
Dragon Cry. So what the hell is the Dragon Cry? Where did this come from?
Right, I agree with this. What is the Dragon Cry? What is it supposed to be able to do? Because I read this and it sounds like you're able to translate dragon cries now, because that same page, Hiccup says, "Mom, can you escort Fishlegs back? He might need your help translating the scale speak. What is
Yeah,
this? Where did it come from? And I want to know more about this."
Yeah.
yeah, for something that because I'll give Dragonvine and Serpent's Air also kind of did this, that they really seem to connect the movies and the show a lot more to each other in terms of the stuff introduced in this one matter into this and stuff. It really shows the canonicity between the two things. And so we just came out of the edge with the Dragon Eye. Get this, and we saw the both Dragon Eyes being destroyed. And so, what is this then? Where did this come from? Why did we invent it? What's the story behind this? Again, if I'm supposed to fill in the gaps myself, then I'm sorry, it's not good storytelling.
Like, yeah, so I would believe that they would have, or not like not that they would have this, but like I believe that they made something in between. But the fact that it's like just thrown out there like this is really just odd because
Yeah, it
you
just
know
it's
you have like in Race to the Edge, we had Fish Lakes pull out his cards, and then we actually talked about them mostly because nobody knew about them. And then when Hiccup would invent something and just pull it out of nowhere like this, they'd be like, "Oh, that's cool. What did you do?" Here, it's just like everybody accepts it, and we get no backstory on it whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it feels like this is an item that we should know about. It feels like Skulder is a person we should know about because apparently he's back on Berk and he
Skulder,
has
like that was
more
new.
records to do with scale speak potentially. Like, this is a new character. Why is he important? Why is this invention important? Who invented it? Where did it come from? What exactly does it do? Can they
And
talk
again,
to
whenever
dragons now,
Rachel.
quote unquote? There's so many questions with this that this book does not answer at all, that it feels like we've missed something in between, right? It feels like, was there supposed to be something before Dragonvine? Because we've obviously not gotten it.
And okay, so one thing unintentionally funny to me is that when Eret points out to Hiccup that maybe they should have given all of their weapons Nightmare Jolt before, and Hiccup points out to the twins saying that they are the reason why he never did this before until now. The way he's drawn, the way he holds the arrow and points to the side, it reminds me of an old guy character from a sketch show that's been made here, who always goes, "I'm an actor," and he puts the hand in front of him like really dramatically. So it reminds me of that, and it got a chuckle out of me. Just thought you might know.
That's fair. I enjoyed the Snotlout. Volca can apparently manhandle Snotlout fairly easily.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, they have this dragon hunter arrow, which they assume because of the mark. I think. Let me see.
Because of the markings on the arrow, yeah.
That's legitimate. I mean, that's something that
Yeah, that I can understand. That there's a mark on the arrow. Who's the mark belongs to? Drago. So they fly off, and the Skull Crusher gets the scent from an island that's I'm surprised we never got to. And on this island, we see that the titular dragon finally.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I just want to point out our brave general, everybody, who wants to touch this dangerous thing we might not know without even knowing what it is. Great job there, Astrid. Just saying. I like Astrid, I really do, but why did she need to touch it in order for us to get an explanation for this?
I mean, she's never seen it before, so it's fair, because even Govert thought it was fake, something that was sung in a lullaby.
Yeah, but even still, it's something you don't know. Maybe it could be dangerous, and apparently, if she had touched it, it would be poisonous for her, and leave stonefly. So again, just a bit of precaution here. That's all. But it's a nitpick. I'm not pointing this out as a.
No, that's fair. I get where you're coming from. But the Dragonvine to me is one that felt a little bit off because at times it felt like this stuff was almost sentient. Did it feel that way to either of you?
Yeah.
A bit, when they keep mentioning that it keeps growing fast and like they can, and we will get to the natives of this island a bit in a bit, but it's saying how this is a thing that destroys homes and stuff, and it just keeps growing and growing. Yeah, it does seem a bit too much alive, and
Well, there's a difference
yeah,
between
there's
alive and sentient, by the way. Because alive, all
oh,
plants are technically alive.
well, okay, so sentient. Let's go with it. So that's what I'm saying.
For me, I think it's just it. I mean, it's your standard, uh, you know. Gosh, I can't. I guess plot convenience where it only grows as fast as the creators want it to.
Oh, sure.
Just like how oh, the room's flooding. We only have 2 minutes, and it's like it's up to their knees by the time, like, within the span of 5 seconds. But then the next, like, 20 minutes in the show
Oh,
are basically
yeah.
it slowly increasing by like a centimeter
All,
per hour.
in 5 minutes, the planet will explode. 5 episodes later, it still didn't explode.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's kind of
kind of
like,
like
well,
that.
it's that time for in that world doesn't pass in the same way that we feel time
But
passes,
this
right? And it's like,
one, that's a little bit different than what I'm getting at. That's like where they stretch time out a little bit. But I'm talking about, like, let's say in Race
mhm.
to the Edge, where they're talking about how the lava will reach them when they're in the volcano on the
Yeah.
Defenders of the Wing Island. Like, we see that
Hmm.
lava rising really, really fast. Oh, it's gonna be here soon. But then
And then it kind of stops and takes,
exactly, yeah. It's not a matter of time. It's a matter of, oh, the lava just slows down, just like the Dragonvine slows down its growing when it needs to.
Yeah. Actually, Wolf, I have a question for you because the Dragonvine maybe we mentioned this before when we did like the cover, the episode about the cover and all the details about this, but the Dragonvine kind of reminded me in a sense of the Dragon Root, like it was another version of it. As someone who really likes the root and the concept behind it, what?
um, th- honestly, I don't think there's enough there for me to really get behind the Dragonvine at the moment. If it is like, it, like here's the thing, right? Like for the Dragon Root, the big thing for me is my own headcanon of it and how before the show went into more detail with the Dragon Root, for me,
Mhm.
headcanon wise, right? Like, yeah, assumed the Dragon Root grew in a very specific way, and the show pretty much proved me wrong on that. So, that sucks. But the Dragonvine, the thing that would interest me is if it actually is a sentient plant, right? If it is a little bit sentient and does have sentience and actually chooses to grow towards other dragons to specifically kill them, right? And the
Mhm.
reason I
Murder,
say that is
yay.
because not so much because of that, but it's very much what if the Dragonvine is very much a symbiotic relationship with dragons, right? It can't
Um,
grow if it doesn't have a dragon to feed off of.
if it kills, that's parasitic.
No, true, but parasitic is what I mean.
Okay.
Sorry, my my bad. Mixing up terms. It's symbiotic. The dragons benefit. Yeah, of course they do.
Okay.
Sure. But yeah, that would interest me. And since there's no information on that, right? There's nothing to disprove that. That basically becomes, headcanon at that point. So my own headcanon for the Dragonvine really interests me. And I think there's some interesting stuff you can do with the Dragonvine. But again, that all comes down to what fans choose to do with it, less so what this particular book does with it.
Hmm. Okay. Fair enough.
But again, that
So,
that comes back to like I think there's some interesting ideas in this book that are worth exploring more.
Mm-hmm.
okay, so we meet this new tribe, which what do you think?
I mean, I think it's safe to assume, right? Apparently, Drago displaced people all the way, all the way to Africa. He's displaced people and attacked people. Apparently,
Another great idea that's just thrown right together with the Dragonvine. I think it's great. Like for one, I'm always for world building
Actually, before we move on
and exploring.
like in terms of just one quick thing in terms of dialogue, I do like the idea of Hiccup still not being able to refer to himself as chief. I think it fits to his character. That's just a quick thing. Let's go back to
yeah, sure.
But yeah, so I think I'm for one always enjoying new tribes. Like I mean, for one, like in Serpent's Air, we have a new tribe as well. So I'm never having an issue with them buying a tribe. And I think that's just a great concept that Drago displaced a whole bunch of people, and it's just blown over so quickly. Like it's mentioned, it's never really like it is mentioned, I should say, like a little bit later, but it's never like a central focus as to we're like, oh, these guys got the place. Okay, moving on to Dragonvine. Like, but that's actually an interesting concept.
Yeah, so we have a guy, Bayana. I think that's how you pronounce the name.
I'm sorry, real quick, but there's one thing that, so I'm on that page, and they call them the Anansi, the spiders, and one of, I know this isn't Berkcast material, but the Miraculous Ladybug has an episode coming out very soon called Anansi, and it's based around a spider as well.
Oh.
I just realized that. I'm like, wow, that's pretty weird.
If I'm not mistaken, that's literally an African word for spider.
It is. So
I'm not going to say which language because I honestly don't know. I just know that's a word from there, and it's really cool that they use that. I think
it's in a folk tale about a person who takes it's West African or Caribbean folklore. It's a person that takes the shape of a spider, apparently.
Okay, fair enough.
Talking about that same page, right? Something that really, again, talking about how the art in this one isn't great at times. Something that really stuck out to me is, I don't know, at that point I hadn't paid close attention to it, but once we get a close up of Astrid, is when I immediately noticed the eye color for Hiccup and Astrid is not what it should be.
It's just black.
For a lot of different pages.
Yeah, you're right. It's just plain black. Where's the green and blue?
There's your true comic book style where they don't really focus on eye color all that much.
Yeah, it's very much again like comic book is just give you the barest of details because it's more about the facial expression than it is the detail of the face.
And speaking of facial expressions, page 40 is the point where I'm like, what the hell happened to Astrid?
Well, it's supposed to be it's very over-exaggerated facial expressions to really get across the specific emotion and really over.
Yeah, but again, it's I'll get this if, but Astrid was never a comic relief character,
Oh, sure, but again,
so
that's not the point of that particular style.
It's not the point.
Yeah, true, but again, this is a character that's been established for 8 years now. So, when I'm reading I'm seeing Astrid in anything, I have this sort of expectation.
Well, so HC, I believe, I don't know how comic books are made, but it almost seems like they wrote the dialogue first, and for Astrid, and that is an Astrid quote, and I could see her doing this in a hands drawn saving of lives, kind of like that. So this was more of an artistic choice.
Yeah, I can see what you mean.
But also on facial details, I actually am kind of interested that he managed, the artist Francisco managed to do the tattoo patterns on Bayana and his tribe mates. That was pretty interesting. I do like their designs.
Yeah. Something, the talking, but Bayana himself, am I the only one who thought about Killmonger from Black Panther?
I did not think of that until now.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. And before anyone says anything, no, it's not skin color. It's the hair, it's the dress, it's the way it dresses, it's a lot of things. Not just that.
Actually,
Before
okay.
anyone,
Sorry, but we were just talking about eye color and stuff. On the very next page, we get a close up of Hiccup,
yeah,
and he
with the
actually
green eyes.
does with the green eye.
Mm-hmm. But after that, you go look through other panels, and it's still black eyes again.
Yeah, I think
But
it's just
again, like
the.
right,
Uh,
that is me nitpicking a little bit,
how
and that's
come?
very
How
much.
come is that the debate between black and green eyes always haunts me whenever I go? But different story though. So yeah, we meet this tribe that apparently Drago, misplaced and everything, and then they tell them Drago is gone, which means Wolf. Once again, we are correct.
Displaced, not misplaced. Should say Drago didn't misplace these people. He didn't lose them.
Man, that's embarrassing for me.
Those two words mean two completely different things.
Can you see him just like playing a board game? And it's like, oops, this shouldn't go here. Hold on a sec. But yeah,
You
but
rascals,
we get the line.
You should be back in your homeland.
Yeah, but is indeed gone. So Wolf, once again, we have confirmation that he did suffocate underwater back in the ending to How to Train Your Dragon 2.
Screaming all the way down.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, do you guys have anything to say about this tribe?
I like it. I'm perfectly fine with, like, again, it builds the world. It says that, hey, these people have been moving from island to island, running away because the dragons are a new thing to them, apparently. So it kind of gives you this idea that, okay, so maybe dragons aren't extremely widespread within the world. Maybe they are very much congregated to more specific areas, right, within the archipelago. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not within the mainland as much. So these people aren't really used to dragons. But it does show that, hey, Drago did attack Africa with dragons, and so these people were displaced by that. And so, again, when they arrived in the archipelago, they were very much, off base and, strangers in a new world, I guess you would say, to a degree. Mm-hmm. And so they've had to just make do, right? And the dragon, and, it's very interesting, and I like the idea of it. Again, it comes back to, like, this is a good idea. I like this idea, and it's something that you could explore more, potentially.
Yeah, and moving on, we have again something that Rush did say about maybe like the dialogue and the arts are not really fitting with each other. So again, we have Astrid acting like Astrid, like she already like. I'm saying we investigate two teams. One sticks with these people, the other is going around will go look for something. And yeah, that's what Astrid to say. But then you look at the outfit, it's like, what the hell is up with her face? It's again, just it takes me out of it. I guess you could say.
See, look, you're gonna keep complaining about this, and I know it's just
this is the last.
Not the art style you're used to. This is just how This is just how most comic books will be like. So.
True. Okay, got it. I will stop.
I mean, it's something.
I mean, it's a fair complaint.
No, that's exactly what I was about to say. It's a fair complaint, but I'm just trying to be open minded about it. Like, you can complain about all you want, and then if this were Cinema Sins, we could just give it 10 sins now and not talk about it again like they always do, right?
Let's maybe do a bonus round for every time, for every face.
We'll do the scale speak counter.
Okay. But anyway, so the teams split. Actually, no, we are going back to Berk for a second.
Mm-hmm.
And
I do want to point out, right, like Hiccup apparently Hiccup knows Bayana's language a little bit, right? Because he knows that Bayana's name means clear knowledge.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, a little bit of a nice callback since we go back to Nepethine and that kind of being amnesia and everything, kind of keeping up with that, knowledge and the mind being clear and amnesia and the mind being clouded. I guess probably drawing too much into something that's not there at all, but neat that they went with that specifically.
Well, speaking of Nepenthe, that's actually in the next scene, or we talk about it. They mention it in the next scene as well.
Mhm.
And then we get another name of a character that we probably will never see, Muddy.
Yeah, I don't know who Muddy is either.
I
No,
have
actually, I don't
not.
think.
We meet the Great Scolder, but we have no idea who
Yeah,
Muddy is.
and again, who are? If I make one line for who are these people?
Actually, that's actually a good thing because I guess this guy says Muddy and I, so we don't know who this guy is specifically, but we do know apparently
Mm,
Muddy is someone,
yeah.
and apparently they have a dig site on Nepenthe. On
Mm-hmm.
Nepenthe.
Mhm.
So apparently Burke is into archaeological dig sites now for reasons unknown. And again, this
Well,
just goes back to that.
well,
Is there
you go.
supposed to be something in between the Serpent's Heir and Dragonvine that we didn't get? Because it feels like that.
Mhm. And what I'll have to say about it when we get to the end, to the ending of this of Dragonvine. But first of all, I just want to say so. Fishlegs go to check on how God is treating Snotlout, and we get a panel that kind of reminds me that could be a horror movie poster for all things considered.
Agreed.
Glad to see I'm not the only one. And anything else we want to say about the scene on book?
Well, then we get another instance of this dragon cry and the scale speak, and they say, "What do we have here?" So I don't know if this is a hint that they may be able to speak Dragonese in the third movie, or maybe the next graphic novel, or what, because I mean, I also don't know if that's either uh if those are just they're just using the runes to or the artist was using runes to emphasize or to like make a noise
I
or
want to
something or what.
I want to point out the very specific language use. Like you bring up Scolder and that guy talking to and Fish Lake's talking about Scolder's records, right? I
Mm-hmm.
want to point out one, they say records, which is doesn't mean much on its own, but he says, and we still haven't heard a thing. Heard. If you're going through records within this day and age and you're looking at runes, you would say we still haven't found anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not heard. Heard really makes me think, are they doing something like, is someone Scolder invented apparently a way to record his voice? And that's how we get the dragon scale where they record dragon speak and are able to translate it to something they can understand. If that's the case, like, again, it's an interesting way to do the whole dragonese things. Like, the dragons can't actually talk, but they can't actually commune with the dragons directly. They have to do so through this device. It's neat. It's an interesting idea, but again, I would want to know way
More
more
about
because
exactly.
as of now, I have no idea who Scolder is. I
We
have
have
no
so
idea
many
if this dude
questions.
apparently invented a way to record his voice, and that's how they're going through his records. How did they find them? How did they find his records? Is he dead? Is he alive? You know, so many questions about him and the dragon scry, and it's just and scale speak, whatever, is that a reference to dragonese? Is it not? Like, what is your plan here? What are you doing with it? Just so many questions that are not answered at all.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And
And
then
that
we
comes and that just comes back to where I say an interesting idea, but it kind of hurts your story overall because now I'm way more interested in that than I am the rest of your story. The rest of your story does not matter to me because that's what I want to know about now.
Mhm. and I'm going to bring this up, and we cut to Hiccup, Astrid, and Gaber looking, like, trying to pick up the scent of, like, what are they looking for again? Man, that's embarrassing.
They're looking for the silk spanners, so they're trying to
Yeah.
follow the silk spanners. Because remember, the silk spanners don't actually have
Mhm.
wings. They use their webs to create wing-like structures and just use that to glide, which is interesting and pretty neat.
Yeah, that's neat. But while they're we see that a little Dragonvine is like growing out of Toothless's saddle.
Mhm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this brings up a thing here. This is remember when I said earlier in this episode that we have a few interesting ideas that each idea could hold its own story, but not necessarily all one story. This is one of them. Like, you could build an entire story about this one plot point of the Dragonvine, encapsulated in Toothless. But it's just another plot point in this. And how much time could we save to develop that instead of focusing on the dragon cry and all this scene on Berg that we just said? What is the point? Because we don't know these people, we don't know this technology, and we are just left confused. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I definitely get where you're coming from.
But I will say this, that after that hint, we get Eret and the twins interacting with each other while trying to destroy the Dragonvine. It is entertaining. I enjoyed those scenes.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And I love the moment of seeing Bayana save Tough Nut and then, later finding out. Well, I mean, we'll get to it a little bit later, but yeah, I love the idea of Bayana saving Tough Nut with the arrow straight through his
Yeah.
arm and hitting the Dragonvine and saving him. That was a nice little moment and a really cool moment too, and kind of gives Bayana, some credibility, I guess you'd say.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
And also, we get the twins being still a little bit of comedic relief, but fun comedic relief, and saying like, and not wanting to destroy everything because it's no fun if they're allowed to destroy everything.
Mm-hmm. And just that it's a fun scene and a few fun moments which I actually enjoyed. So awesome. Moving on. So we see the babies, and then we get to the abomination, which is this big six-panel mother, which honestly that terrified me when I saw this. Like, I'm turning back, it's like, what is this?
I mean, so I do like how in the How to Train Your Dragon universe take they make dragons from basically real life animals and such. You have the fireworms, which is more like a beehive, and now we have the silk spanners, which are like spiders.
Yes.
And so you have the mother spider with the good lord mother spider with the rest of.
Someone just turned to that page.
Yeah. No. I was on it. I just looked.
Someone got a good look at the
Yeah.
that. It does, like, I love the design here of these dragons. Like, they
You
really
know, I
design
like
really
that
well.
seeing this like this for the first time, not expecting it. It's like, dear God, what is this?
Like, it goes back to that. A lot of people, spiders do look creepy. Like, whether you like them or not, spiders have a creepy look to them. A lot of bugs do. So it it makes sense that, like, I think they did really well at making the silk spanners look creepy. Like, this shouldn't exactly look like a death song.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they did a really good job with the design of the silk spanners.
Spider. Just had to make that. Whoever got it.
Good to know.
So let me see here. And again, this is one thing I don't really like about the pacing of this, because we were on this island with Hiccup, Astrid, and Gobble for 1 second. We see the Silk Spanner's mom, let's call it that. Then we see the Dragonvine keep growing out of Toothless's saddle, and we are back with Eret and the twins. Which, again, I know a lot of stuff do this, but give me something to chew on before you go back. You know what I mean?
That's fair. I get what you're saying. I would agree. Like, give me a little bit more with each scene before we switch over to the next one.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But it is done to build up suspense, so I kind of understand it from that angle as well.
Yeah, it's done to build up suspense, yes, but again, do this also would giving us something to, we say this thing, what does it do? How does it attack? How does it attack? Why is it so mad? Give us something, like a bit, just a bit, teeny bit. But again, that's probably just me.
Fair enough.
But anyway, yeah, it's a lot of back and forth scene switching, and so we're basically the next we're with Rough Nut, Eret, Tough Nut, and Bayana fighting the Dragonvine, and the dragons have reached their shot limit, and they're fighting, and then we're back to the rest of them.
Yeah, well back.
I do love Tough, like just absolutely, like giving Skullcrusher no quarter, just mean to this dragon for no reason.
Yeah,
I do love this, and he does this more than once throughout this book.
Well,
like that's just that was a bit of good writing that made me smile for a bit. I guess you could say it got me a little bit. So
yeah, again, the twin to shine in this, which I appreciate. Okay, so back with the silk spanners. So we can see that that she's literally their mom. She's literally giving them birth as during the fight. At least that's what
I don't think that's what's happening there.
Oh, maybe she like keeps them with her and she just lets them go. I don't know.
Regardless, she drops
actually, one thing is that Grump fell asleep and Gobber needs to wake him up in this time of despair. I do like that. Again, I love Grump. So
I do also
Grump
like the action
good.
shot on the next page. That one's a nice shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a cool shot. And then we get the big drama twist for this. Tutas gets captured by the Dragonvine.
And we're back. Here's another instance of it grows as fast as it wants to, because it, like, while they're flying into the island,
like a bit.
While they're flying into the island, it sprouts. It's tiny. Then they have this whole scene of fighting after they discover the babies and stuff, and then it just completely wraps them up. Like, hello.
Well, yeah. Again, cartoon logic, I could say.
Yeah. Anyway, he gets wrapped up. Yeah. And once again, we're switching back to Eret and gang.
Mm-hmm. We are switching back to Eret, and let's see here. I'm reconnecting this book now to have much of a chance to read this all the way through again. So I'm going, unprofessional again. But they do manage to find. Eret does find a way to, like, find the root for the Dragonvine, like find the source for it, which again I like because so he might have a few strategies of picking stuff like this up.
I do like, though, how when he finds the crack and he fills it with the gas, he asks Bayana, "How true is your aim?" And if you said that
because of Tough Nut,
he's like,
"This is what I was going to refer to." I love how he immediately says, "Oh, I wasn't trying to save him. I was trying to kill him. To put him out of his misery." I'm like, all right, that's a good line. I enjoyed that. That was fun.
That was funny. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. But anyways, they go blow up that that place. They go into the cave and they found where the root comes from, which is this big. I think it's a silk. Is this a silk spanner or
it's a snap trapper?
This looks like a snap trapper to me.
No, they say it's an alpha. It's a Titan Wing snap trapper later, I believe.
Oh yeah, they do. And it's like, I love this shot, by the way, because this thing is huge, and just seeing this giant skeleton, right? Like, it's just it's amazing to see. Like, this is a good spread right here. This is a good 2-page spread that looks really nice to see.
It's because he didn't have to draw any humans.
Yeah, true.
Now,
Yes,
see,
this is great.
this is a
And
good.
also, it does give the sense of how big this thing is when it's a two-page
Mhm.
spread.
There's also another thing that I'd like to mention is this is how they should have done the switching between back and forth scenes, because this is a good cliffhanger and it's enough to where we figure out what they're doing, what they're trying to do, and what they find out. Like this
Yeah.
is where you leave on a good cliffhanger, and then we switch back to Hiccup and gang with Toothless wrapped up in the Dragonvine, etc., etc.
Uh, And I will say this, said before, how I do think Toothless being captured by Dragonvine could have filled its own book. Yeah, so we have this talk that Hiccup gives Toothless, and it is a touching talk. I do want to like this. I do want to get emotional because of this, but so much is going on that I was
Yeah,
just
right.
honestly raising an eyebrow. Where did this even come from?
HC, as much as I want to agree with you, I just feel like the Dragonvine, filling it up in its own book, the Dragonvine just has been said to move too quickly, and of course it does.
Mhm.
Like maybe if it was a slow poisoning thing, you could, which then at that point it would basically just be like the Oleander, the Blue Oleander episode from Riders at Berk. So I don't know how you would make that into a whole story itself.
Well, I'm not as it is. It could have fit an entire book. There will have to be changes. Like maybe they found out about it sooner, and they go and they try to look for a cure in this specific island.
So
And
basically,
uh,
Blue Oleander.
yeah, could be, but it will hold something. It will give me something to, and something with the blue oleander brought up. We know Tutus is going to be fine there because one, it is kind of obvious that Vigo tricked Hiccup, and two, How to Train a Dragon 2 needs to happen, so nothing bad could happen
No,
to
no, no.
Tutus
I'm
because
talking
it is.
about Riders of Berk, Blue Oleander.
Oh, oh,
We know Toothless is
well,
going to be good in this because of the hidden world.
okay, fair point, fair point. Who knows? Maybe Hiccup built it. Go figure.
Hiccup, I don't feel so good.
I had to go there. Okay. Anyway, so apparently these new dragon like silk spanner babies eat the dragon vine, which solves the problem.
I
And cures Toothless.
Well, no. So they
Yes.
also they don't show this. They don't show this necessarily here, but they do later. They actually do suck the venom out. They do it on
Ah,
yeah. If you look later on Tough Nut Air and
I
stuff,
did
when
not see that.
they do, I guess I don't know if I can't remember. They're like on them when they have no vines on them. They're sucking the venom out or something like that. I do like the
Okay.
idea of the Silk Spanners actually eating Dragonfine, and it makes sense. I just don't like the way it's presented as a Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it does feel a little out of nowhere, to be honest. But it does. It works
It
though.
works. Like I
Even
said,
if it
I
it feels the way it feels off, but it works even though it feels off.
it makes
I
sense
agree.
as to why, like, I mean, it makes sense with the whole story too. Like, oh, the Silk Spanners were actually displaced as well, and that's why the Dragon Vine is running rampant because they did eat it, and so it does make sense.
Mhm.
Anyway, we get that revelation. Only after
And then
Falco and
another
Fishlegs come in
revelation.
and tell him not to stop these Silk Spanners. Anyway, now on to Eric and Gang once more.
So Eret finds out that these people have been harvesting the dragon vine, and what a surprise! Notice that this is the second, villain twist these graphic novels pulled on us.
True. And I think that's because they don't have like an overarching villain that they can rely on, right? So they have
Probably.
to. It's very much like the villain has to be, well, we're doing this because for Calder is very much she was insane, but for these people, like at least at the very least, you can see why they feel the way they feel, right? They
Mhm.
were displaced by Drago. They were their village was destroyed by Drago, and so they want to use the Dragonvine and plant these same roots on any warring nation that would attack other people. They want to use the Dragonvine to destroy that warring nation.
I will say this though. There's something I agree with you, Wolf, that these people have more of a good motivation than Calder, but at the same time, Calder was a more interesting concept. So maybe somewhere halfway you could actually get me to kill.
I get where you're coming from. Like, right, like the idea of him becoming a dragon was very interesting, even if it was a bit out there for this world, and it was never really explained anything about the whole scale thing or and all of that. But at the same time, right, it's I can sympathize with these people more, and I can get where they're coming from. And obviously you're not supposed to really sympathize with Calder, right? But his motivation feels it's just hey, I'm a dragon, so I deserve to rule over all dragons. It's like a bit out there, maybe, to me, anyways. But I do get where you're coming from.
Okay. So again, we have been captured by the Swiss villain, and we found out that Buff, Belch, and Skullcrusher have been trapped, and they want to put Eret and the twins there as well. Actually, Eret only. Yeah. Oh, no, the twins are there as well. Oops.
They're already there, so they're just putting her in with them.
Yeah. To be captured by the Vine and everything, and then of course Hiccup and the others to the rescue. I do have to say I like how the Silk Spanners can just shoot web, get the twins and Eret, and like grab the twins and then just pull them up. Creative web usage, always good.
But I want to say that before that we get a funny little moment where basically so they're in what they're called the Briar, which is a place where Dragonvine apparently grows and kills them in their cage. But as it's closing in, Roughnut says, "I don't care if I have to die, son of Eret." Hands off the goods, and Eret just says, "Well, you're climbing on me."
Yeah, that's a good line.
But then then we get the saving, and let's see, they get basically it's just more rescue. They get dropped on their dragons. We finally get a revelation as to where those weapons were kept from the twins. And then this is where I'm going, so if we get that, on the next page, like I was saying, the dragons do suck the venom out. As Roughnut so delicately puts it, dragon hickeys.
Oh yeah, you are right. Yep, you're right. I understand now. I completely forgot about that.
I think that's the only reason why I remembered, because dragon hickey, that is something that I did not need to think about.
Well, every franchise has those. Well, I didn't really think I'll need to think about it, but sure, whatever. It's here.
Hicktooth fans go wild. Anyway, so, the rest of it is basically your standard closing, and it's like only 3 pages. Well, okay, front and back, so it's like 6 pages, and it's like I said, it's another how the story just progresses way too quickly. Like,
beyond apparently itself and everything seems to be hunky-dory. We destroyed the dragon vine. The Dragonvine.
They bring the Silk Spanners Queen there, so all the Dragonvines can be taken care of.
And then we end up where we see one Dragonvine. I guess you can say, what is this in?
Floating.
Let's say a pot. Yeah, this thing.
Whatever they are harvesting, it looks like a pumpkin, to be honest.
Yeah, we see one of the dragons they have been harvesting, floating in the ocean as you know, thunder strikes. The end, probably a setup for the next graphic novel, which will come out in 3 years or something. I don't know.
After How to Train Your Dragon Head World comes out, of course, too.
This again, this will ruin the finality of the hidden world, but whatever.
I don't think it will. Again, I wouldn't mind seeing more of these, talking about it, right? And I think that there's nothing wrong with ending it that way because it shows that, the Dragonvine isn't a thing that is a thing that's still within this world, right? That it's still out there and it's still a problem. So, I mean, it just like the dragon root is technically. Again, I'm okay with that. Nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that. And I like seeing, Bayana change, and apparently he very quickly learns how to ride the silk spanners, which is a which is a neat little thing,
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
it definitely, I want it. I would like to see more of this. I would like to see another book, if not more, solely because I just want to learn about some of the things they've come up with and why they came up with them and what exactly they are. And
You
I just
know,
want to know more about that.
somebody once said that with sequels you usually have you have the opportunity to fix stuff that maybe didn't work with in the original piece. So for this, I like if they make another one, and I think they will. Like, there's no reason why not to, unless this doesn't sell well, which I don't know. I don't know the
I think
sales
the amount
figures
of
for this.
I think the pre-orders have already probably. I don't think too many people are gonna take our word and not buy it because they probably already bought it.
Mhm.
Heck, didn't
I
our
mean, if
Yeah,
you're a fan of How to Train Your Dragon, you probably already bought it. You probably bought it and pre-ordered it on the spot the second you were able to.
exactly? That's what I was thinking.
mhm.
And if you're not, then
That
if you
or
see
you're
it
in a
and you're like, I like
podcast,
How to
so
Train
you
Your
have to
Dragon.
read it just for it.
True.
Well, point is, I'm not sure how to decide if this will continue or not, if sales figures have something to do with this and or not. But but it seems like we are getting some sort of a continuation to the graphic novels. So if they could like explain some of the stuff that wasn't explained here, or and maybe build upon something, because it doesn't seem like we're done with the Dragonvine considering this cliffhanger. So
That doesn't
I'll
necessarily
be
mean
open.
that we're not
Yeah.
done with it. That could just mean that's just like a little send off saying that hey, it's still out there, but we may
Yeah,
not
like I
see
said,
it.
it still exists within this world, but we may not see it again. Ever.
Yeah, but what's the point of building it up then?
It's not. That's not
As
a
just
build up. That's not even a build up. That's just saying hey, it's still out there.
Mhm. But point is, it's it does seem to hint that there's more to come, whether if it has something to do with the Dragonvine or not. And you know what? Sure, more How to Train a Dragon is always good, and it gives us something to talk about and speculate. So go, let's DreamWorks, Dark Horse. I'm with whatever you got. Bring it on.
yeah. Again, like I said, I would love to learn more about Skolder. I would love to learn more about the Dragon's Scry. I would,
Dragons cry.
Dragon's Cry. Yes, sorry. I would love to learn why there's a dig site on, Nepathy. Like all these things, I would like to know more about. You've come up with some interesting ideas here, and I would like to see more of them and figure out where it is you're doing with them and where you want to go with them. So if you do come up with another book, I am interested.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe not interested for the reasons that I should be, perhaps. But still, yet I am interested.
Mhm. Well, anything else to say, or can we close this episode up?
I'm done. I think I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, overall,
Uh,
I don't feel like I wasted my money. I think I got something that was interesting, something that tided me over for, a little bit, and it was good. I can't say I would go out of my way to recommend people pick it up out of, themselves, but like I said before, if you're a fan of How to Train Your Dragon, you've probably already got it and read it. If you're just someone who, I'm going to go to a comic book store, How to Train Your Dragon, Dragonvine, and you decide to pick it up then, I don't think you'll be hurting for it, but, I don't think you're going to find anything special here either. A few
mhm.
good ideas,
Mm-hmm.
a few interesting ideas, and that's about it.
I already said some interesting ideas. bit lacking, but there is some stuff to like here.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's been all for this episode of the Berkcast. We hope. What do you think about Dragonvine? You can tell us all about that in the comment section below. On Tumblr, where we are known as Berkcast Team. On Twitter, where we are known as Berkcast with a capital B, capital C. And you can find all of us on the How to Train Dragon Valhalla Discord server. So until next time, I was HC.
I was Rush.
And I've been Wolf.
And we will talk to you all next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.